What up, guys? It is JZNES back again with another video. Doesn't seem like it's been that long, but for me it's been, well, a month, so that's pretty crazy. I don't know why I'm revealing that or saying that, but it's just how it goes. Starting off uh, October with the horror theme here. I'm not even sure. Maybe this will come out in September. I don't know yet. Like, I don't have a video for the last slot of September, so whatever. Maybe we're starting off October early, but this is horror themed. We're doing Resident Evil. Not like the whole series or anything, but just I'm doing the first one. I decided to skip Zero because I didn't want to like have to play through that again or whatever. So I just said screw it. I'm doing Resident Evil 1, the remake, a game I've wanted to play for a long time now. Actually, whilst I was doing these reviews, I actually did play through Resident Evil Deadly Silences, or Resident Evil DS as it's known because it's on the DS. And I was going to review it at some point, but I didn't really know if I'd have enough to say about it. But now that I'm thinking about it, like, I think this was a little bit earlier on when I didn't really know what I was doing or whatever. But, like, now, like, of course there's stuff to say about it. It's fucking Resident Evil. I mean, I can at least bore you with my backstory of how I got into Resident Evil, or how big of a fans we were of it in high school, or I don't know. There's a million things about Resident Evil I could talk about, and I'm going to talk about them now. This is what we're doing. Um, so let's get into the backstory. How did I get into Resident Evil? Well, my brother had the original Resident Evil. I don't have a copy of the PS1 version, by the way, which is ironic because look how many fucking copies I own. The only copy I own of the PS1 version is the one that's on PSN, which is the original way I like fully experienced Resident Evil was through the director's cut. I know everyone's like, oh, the music or whatever. It's just that one part, and it's not even that big of a deal. Get over it. Anyway, so I experienced the director's cut first, fully playing through it. I mean, I played through this game a lot, or not played through it. I watched this game being played through a lot as a kid. My brother had it; he would always play it, and I wasn't supposed to be watching, but I did anyway, kind of thing, just like Silent Hill. Silent Hill freaked the shit out of me, and I think Resident Evil had a similar impact, but I don't know if my mind could like distinguish between the two as much. So like I just kind of combined experiences from Silent Hill and Resident Evil, so I thought they were both just horrifying. Turns out Resident Evil is just more of a B movie, so it's like it's just funny bad, like, but it's also kind of scary because of like the controls and whatever. But so it's interesting. Like I did see a lot of the original game being played back then, and of course I thought it was really cool and whatever. I like three of my favorite games: Resident Evil 1, Silent Hill, and Metal Gear Solid 1 were games that I used to watch my brother play back then. Less so Metal Gear because by that point he like didn't let me watch, or he knew all my tricks to letting me watch the games because they're all like M-rated games, so it's like I'm not supposed to be watching as a little kid, but I did anyway. I watched him play Doom. I fucking played Doom myself. That was my first M-rated game ever that I played. I remember the first time my brother let me play it. It's crazy, long time ago. But anyway, so yeah, Resident Evil, like fuck, like it's been a part of me since I was a kid, and I never really like it never really left me. I always saw it being played. There's probably a gap there of time where I really didn't have anything Resident Evil related going on, but in the, like the second and the third game, I think my brother probably had those, and I watched him play those at some point too, or something. I don't really remember those as much, but I do remember the original Resident Evil being played a lot. Actually, we played through this version, me and my brother, like I don't know, like three or so, maybe 3, 4 years ago or something. Um, so that's pretty cool, and it's a pretty decent version, the Saturn version. It's basically the PlayStation version. There's like an exclusive enemy and stuff. The Saturn controls are a little different than the PlayStation one, so it's a little awkward in a sense, but it's an interesting version to play of Resident Evil, and it's got the cool cover art, which is also in the guide. I think it was that just the director's cut cover art, but it had it before the director cut was a thing. So, but this is a cool version to have as well. Definitely pretty uncommon to rare, this version, so that's pretty cool. I got this version more recently. Ironically enough, it doesn't have Resident Evil 1 on there because that's a code. So really, this is just Resident Evil 0, but I just brought it out anyway because, like, whatever, for variety. And this is Umbrella Chronicles back here, which actually has a remake of Resident Evil 1 in it, post the Resident Evil 1 remake. What the fuck? What am I doing? Hold on a second. I forgot one. Forgot one of them. Where the... Okay, hold on. Where's my GameCube games? How could I forget the game that is the game that we're fucking reviewing? The Resident Evil 1 remake for the GameCube. You can't make this shit up. I forgot to add that to the thing. Well, there it is. So I also played the Resident Evil 1 remake, but that was a long time after all of this stuff. And I don't even really remember seeing the remake back in the day. So, yeah, that's interesting. Like, but I do remember then later hearing about it. When I really got into Resident Evil was more high school, like early high school, like I think like freshman year. Maybe it was still even middle school or something, but like I just remember getting into all of these like PS1 games back then, like Resident Evil and Silent Hill and stuff because they were on PSN at that point, and I had finally had my PS3. So, yeah, so I mean it couldn't have, it must have been early high school because that's around when that would happen because I didn't get my PS3 till 2008 at least because the reason I got my PS3 was Metal Gear Solid 4. So, yeah. It was like right around when that had released, I remember. So, yeah. Anyway, unrelated. So I started getting into Resident Evil around then. The way I actually first experienced Resident Evil was on the PSN, and then I also played it a lot on my PSP. Of course, I played it on my TV first, but on my TV screen first. But the PSP was another way I used to play some of these old PlayStation 1 classic games. I don't think I ever played Silent Hill on there, but I definitely played like Metal Gear on there like once or twice, and it's kind of cool to have it on the go. Come on, sit down. There you go. All right. I just don't want all. Yeah, you're good. You're good. But anyway. So, so I got the director's cut and I played through it. And I remember my first experience playing through Resident Evil 1 in high school was I was very underwhelmed by how scary it was because it wasn't scary at all. Barely. It was just more cheesy and stuff. And so I'm like, huh, that's a little strange that it's not as scary as I remember it being. But then I realized what I was thinking of. The fear that I was getting at was definitely more so from Silent Hill. Hi. You okay? You good? He just wants to block the shot. That's alright. You can be here. You can block the shot. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah, but anyway. So, I just remember it not being that scary, but I do remember enjoying it a lot, and then it really got me set on the path of, like, playing all of the Resident Evil games. I remember I downloaded 2 and 3 on the PlayStation Network, and then later I actually, like, burned them onto CDs on my PC or whatever. I still have those somewhere, I think. So I could play, like, the PC versions and stuff, which is pretty cool. I actually have some old video footage of me doing a Let's Play of Resident Evil 3, I think, on my old fucking shitty camera. I actually have a Resident Evil 1 Let's Play. I remember this. This is actually, fuck, I think I had uploaded it to my old channel that got, like, deleted or whatever. But how funny is that? Yeah, I forgot all about that shit. I even made a Resident Evil 1 Let's Play and shit. That's crazy. But, yeah, so I really love Resident Evil 1. 2's alright. 3 is definitely one of my other favorite Resident Evil games. I like 4. I don't think it's as good as the whole hype around it. I don't think it's the best Resident Evil game or whatever. I also really enjoy 5. Of course, I forgot Code Veronica because everyone always forgets that one. It's a pretty good game. It's a little tricky and a little challenging. It definitely could benefit a lot from one of these remakes that they're doing. I hope that's the next one, is Code Veronica, because the PS2 and Dreamcast versions there are they're a bit rough, because they're still really, really difficult, and they still have the tank controls and all of that. And that's kind of where the tank controls pushed their limits there, where it was the PS2 game, Code Veronica there. But, so yeah, like, all of these games have tank controls, and they're kind of infamous for their tank controls, especially the first one there. And that's why it's always so hard to recommend these games to people now, because they're like, ew, the tank controls. I'm just like, get the fuck over it. That's part of the game, you know? Like, whatever. But yeah. So I remember playing it back in high school, and then playing all the other ones. And then later in high school, I remember is when I played, actually, for the first time, the remake of Resident Evil 1. I think this is probably after, like, Dark Side Chronicles and stuff. I didn't bring that one out because it doesn't have anything to do with Resident Evil 1. It's just 2 in Code Veronica, if I remember correctly. And a full other campaign. But I still want to play this one. That's still on the backlog. But I wanted to play this first, so then I can remember and experience the story of Resident Evil 1 as a rail shooter, but you know, remember what was kind of going on and whatnot. So so anyway, all of this stuff, and I talk about Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 was a game that I picked up right around when it came out as well, and I really enjoyed that. I had a lot of good experiences with my friends and whatever playing that game. I actually kind of prefer it to Resident Evil 4. I know it's blasphemous to say, but just because of all the fun times me and my friends had with it. I know it's more of an action game, but I like 4 a lot, but I don't like it as much as most of the other Resident Evil games, honestly. It's pretty low tier on those games, honestly, out of all of them. Not because it's bad, just because all the other ones are so good, and they have so much more to offer than that. Resident Evil 2, the remake, was pretty decent. I thought that was a really good representation of that game, of Resident Evil 2, which is a game that I like, but never liked as much as the other ones. But the 2 remake actually kind of keeps the spirit of the original and remakes it for a modern audience, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't actually own that at all, because it was always expensive, and then I just kind of forgot to pick it up at whatever point, but bet I could find it for cheap now. But anyway, so the 2 remake's good. Haven't played the 3 remake yet. I should play that. I heard disappointing things, so I guess there's that. I played 7, Resident Evil 7. That's another one I played, and that was pretty good as well. Very very different from the other Resident Evil games, but good nonetheless. Definitely more of the horror that the series should be known for, or could be known for, you know. I don't think necessarily any of the games are super scary, but they're scary in the fact that you're limited by your ammo and items, which was kind of always the staple gimmick of Resident Evil, was the limited items and ammo and whatnot, and you really have to search around for your gear to get like a new weapon, or there'd be like a puzzle, like for instance in this game, there's a few ways you go about getting the shotgun. You can either, if you're Jill, you can just kind of go there and then Barry will save you. Oh, you were almost a Jill sandwich. And you know, the remake doesn't have any of those kind of lines that you would have fit nicely into a sandwich or whatever. It's like, okay. But I'm happy to say that the remake, I know I'm all over the place, but I'm happy to say that the remake is a very good representation of the original game. I just still sort of prefer the original game. That's maybe mostly out of nostalgia, you know, but I gotta say that at least this game is a way, way, way better game than the Twin Snakes, Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, because that's the other thing you have to bring up. These are the 2 famous games that got remade from the PS1 at the time. The Twin Snakes is kind of terrible in comparison to the original game. It's an okay game on its own, not a great game for a Metal Gear game. But Resident Evil 1, the remake, is actually a really good game, and it's really just comes down to preference. What do you prefer? Do you prefer to play the original version, the PS1 version, because it's got all the cheese and all the original placements of items and all of that? It's familiar, and I think that the mansion is still just laid out better. Not necessarily better. See, it comes down to like, which one do you prefer? It's really an opinion thing, because for me, the first game is just a lot tighter. Not that this game's not a tight game, but it's just it's just perfect. Everything's perfectly placed and put everywhere. They added a lot to this game, which isn't a bad thing, and it still retains a decent runtime, and it's not overbearing or anything. I used to kind of think that back in the day. See, my original initial experience with the GameCube version was, oh well, I like the original better because they added all this stuff, and none of this stuff really adds anything. But it's like, no, that's stupid high school me saying that from like what 10 or 11, 12 years ago or whatever. Um, Me now thinks, hey, this is pretty cool. This is a really good representation of the original game. And if you want to play the original game, it's hard to recommend the PS1 version because nobody is really going to play that in this day and age, especially like my friends or whatever. They're all going to just gravitate towards this one, which isn't such a bad thing, you know? Okay, every time I talk about Metal Gear Solid 1, everyone's like, well, shouldn't I just play the Twin Snakes? And I always have to tell them, no! God, no! Do not play the Twin Snakes! That's what I have to tell them, and I have to, like, emphasize how terrible that game is in comparison to the original. If somebody said, hey, shouldn't I just play the remake of Resident Evil 1? I'd be like, yeah, why not, you know? I guess. Like, the original's still really good, but it's just so hard for new people to go back to. For myself, it's not that hard to go back to, but it does show its age. It has flaws. The controls are still not ideal, you know? This game has ideal controls. That's nice. I still like the original game better, but is it the better game? Maybe. That's up for you to decide, you know, at the end of the day. And playing through the Deadly Silence version, let's just do a little quick recap of that. I didn't play the original mode. I played the arranged mode. Is this over already? No, it's just really quiet. See, that's the other thing about this game. Sorry, I'll get back to Deadly Silences in a second. I want to talk about the music quick. Now, the music is atmospheric, and that's cool, and I like that. You know, this game was obviously going for more horror. There are some pretty terrifying moments with the enemies and whatnot. And I'm sure a lot of that would have impacted me more if this were my first playthrough. And of course, I'm playing it in HD on the HD version. The nice, looks beautiful. It's a really good looking game. You know, it's just the GameCube game, like up-res farther. Maybe they did some work on it. I don't know, but like it still looks really good, except for the cutscenes. Some of the little like intermittent cutscenes where it's like they used to be like the CG cutscenes like back in the day. They've replaced with just little weird ones like when you like use the crank to lower the water or whatever. It's like those are like standard definition cutscenes for some reason. Like I don't understand. They didn't like clean up those cutscenes, so still a few of them look like old and garbagey. They look because they're from the GameCube version. Of course, I can make my GameCube look good now, but it's like, you know, whatever. Point being that they didn't fix all of the cutscenes or whatever. So is that, but those are only like a few and far between. All the other like of the characters and all of that. That's all still good. That's still all golden, 100% A plus stuff there. You know, good to go on those. But I was gonna talk about the music. The music is just atmospheric, and I get that. We're going for a horror atmosphere this time, but I really enjoy the music of the old game a lot. Like, you know, that one room being excluded there from the DX version or whatever. But the music of the old game is actually really well done, and it actually does set a pretty creepy vibe. And I actually think it helps with the horror a lot. But it's also just really classic and nostalgic to me, that music. So I really appreciate that. So the new game kind of lacks in the music department, but that's not really important. I wouldn't say too much. Not a big deal there. You know, that's like maybe the one little nitpick about the new game overall. So, but I did want to talk about Deadly Silences. You can't really see it because my cat's here. Hello, Mr. Gus. Just wants to be in the corner there. That's fine. Oh, I didn't. You don't have to. You can sit there. That's fine. But anyway, so Deadly Silences. the Resident Evil DS. I didn't play through the original version on that because I've already played the original version of Resident Evil so many times that I'm like, well, I want to play the arranged mode or whatever it was called, the new mode or whatever. And so the interesting thing about that mode is there's these little segments randomly when you'll go through doors sometimes, or just sometimes they're just set up where when you go through doors, there's these little like things where you have to like do a thing with the stylus and like slash at the enemies or whatever with your knife. Now that's fine and everything, but the problem with these are they can take away from your health, and then when you already have limited health and ammo and stuff, I actually got to the end of the game, and what ended up happening was I couldn't beat the tyrant because I didn't have enough health uh, and ammo to get through it because of those sections, because of the slashy sections or whatever, which was really annoying. And so, yeah, and there were a few other flaws. They moved around some items and stuff. Not a big deal. That's kind of cool. I kind of enjoy that. Um, but it's just really not the ideal way to play it unless you're gonna play the original mode. Like play the original mode. On that, I'm sure that's fine. And I should mention that I rarely, if ever, played the Chris campaign. There's two campaigns. There's the Jill campaign and the Chris campaign. Uh, I barely ever played the Chris campaign, like ever. I always just played the Jill one because you have the extra inventory slots or whatever, and you don't have to like go around fighting lockpicks and all of that. It would be a fun thing to play through another time. It's almost like the second quest in Zelda. It's just like I never really do it, you know? Or the Master Quest in Ocarina. I've still got to experience that at some point. Is that on the 3DS version? I should play that at some point. That'd be a lot of fun because I get that urge to play that game every now and again, and it'd be a fun way to re-experience Zelda 1 as well as to play the second quest. But anyway, so yeah, that's almost just like a side thing. It's still like the same game, but a lot of the items are different and stuff, and it's like there's different story elements to that. You have Rebecca Chambers on the Chris campaign, whereas you have Barry on the other campaign. So between Rebecca and Barry, who am I gonna fucking choose? I'm gonna choose Barry because he's awesome and he's got a gun that kills anything in one shot or whatever. You know, like, oh, you were almost a Jill sandwich. You, the master of unlocking. You know, like all these great lines that they took out of the new game. But whatever. Um. So yeah, like the music is just not as good, and then there's a lot of those kind of things where they change little lines and stuff, which really irked me back in the day. Now, today, it's interesting to go and look through this game again because they still have a lot of the original cheesy lines there. Not in the same sense, but the lines don't sound much better. At the end of the day, they sound more English, but they don't sound better in a sense. They cleaned them up as best as they could, but like they still sound really stilted and whatever, like some of the sentences and stuff. Some of the stuff is just like really cheesy, like I don't know. I can't even describe it. So they actually kind of got it right, but they also like neutered all the best lines, like the Jill sandwich thing. You know, you would fit nicely into a sandwich or whatever, like that thing and that kind of stuff. And so I don't know. It's give and take. You know, it's just a different version of the same game. That's really what it comes down to. It really is just a different version with more stuff. And it looks better and plays better and stuff. So it, at the end of the day, is probably the better game of the two. But there's a lot of things to love about the original game. First off, when it came out, it was really pretty amazing, like for its time. Um, you really didn't have voice acting in video games back then, and while it was really cheesy and B movie-ish, that's kind of what they chose to do. Whatever. That and Metal Gear Solid are like some of the best examples. Maybe Silent Hill, but you know, are some of the best examples of like games back then with voice acting. So like obviously Metal Gear is better than both of those, um, but when you're talking about games with good voice acting, it is uh, it is a premier effort from the time. So even though nowadays it seems quaint and cheesy, which is part of its charm though, it's part of what I love about it is how quaint and cheesy it is because it is a B movie horror movie of a video game. You know, like there's giant like fucking bugs and zombies and shit. And they never call them zombies for some reason. they always refer to him as that thing or whatever. Like in this game, anyway. I don't remember much about the original. It was like last year when I played the Deadly Silences. So, and that was such a different experience from when I played the original game. Anyway, I kind of wanted to play the original game to get back to it, but it's like I didn't want to do them back to back or something, you know. And I remember enough about the original game to kind of fill in the gaps or whatever. But that atmosphere is definitely more horror-esque, and I kind of do appreciate that a lot. Um, and they've changed up the puzzles just enough to be different enough to be good, you know? So fans of the original will still know where a lot of stuff is, or they'll be kind of surprised when they see, oh, this item's actually here instead of this thing that I knew was supposed to be here, or whatever. There's a lot of little supplementary extra things. One of the newest additions that's everyone kind of goes on about is when you kill a zombie, you have to burn their body, which I barely did. Otherwise, they will come back as a Crimson Head and fuck your shit up later on when you come back through that way, like, you know, like down the line a little bit. And they actually do turn pretty fast. It all just comes down to, do you think you can make it past or not? And then they're really a pain to deal with. They'll take more bullets and stuff when they're Crimson Head, so you can just burn the body, which you have limited amount of kerosene to go and burn their bodies with, and you have to take the time to do it by taking the lighter and the fuel thing with you to go and burn them. I didn't do it just because, like, I don't know. I just kind of thought, oh, hey, I can get by. You know, and I did. I got by pretty easy. You know, of course, I was playing the easy mode because I had a bunch of ammo and extra health and stuff at the end. I didn't barely use most of it, but maybe I should play it on the harder mode next time. But I didn't want it to, you know, I wanted to get through it quickly because I got other games to play for this Halloween stuff. So anyway, but yeah, like, what's cool about the original game was that at least in the mansion section, and you know, I mean, for the most part, most of the other sections too, they just kind of aren't as much near the end. Like, it's mostly the mansion and the lab section and a little bit in the guardhouse. There's, I mean, no, not even the mansion, or not even the guardhouse and the lab. Actually, really, it's just the mansion. There's a sense of non-linearity there where you can kind of go into a lot of different paths and just kind of run around and your experience is not like really blocked out. There's a bunch of doors. It's Metroidvania-ish in the sense that there's a lot of doors and stuff that are locked, but it's cool because the experience is like, oh, hey, there's a locked door. I need a shield key to get in there. The shield key is a bad example because you barely use that one but once or something. You need an armor key or a sword key to get in there. So you think, oh, hey, when I get the sword key, when I get the armor key, I got to remember this door. Of course, you have a map and stuff too, like whatever. But the way I like to do it is like, oh, I'll remember that that's there, and then I'll come back to that later. And then it's like an experience of like, oh, what's going to be in that room? You know, what kind of crazy thing's going to be in there? Is there going to be some enemies in there? Is there going to be, what kind of puzzle's going to be in there? What is it going to be a space where I can use one of my items that I didn't know where to use it before? You know, like, you get so many items in this game, and you're just like, what's this for? What's that for? What's this for? And then eventually things kind of click into place, like, oh, hey, I need to use this gem on this box to open it up or something. And that's another good subversion of expectations. Was there's that gem puzzle where you go and take the gem out of the like hanging deer head or whatever, and one has, and this time there's a red one and a yellow one, and one has a red one and one has a yellow one. In the original game, you put the red one in the slot on this tiger in this other room, like halfway across the mansion or whatever, and it opens up and gives you the magnum or something else. There's a crest, I think. There's also a crest. So there's 4 crests in the original game, and this is how you progress to the guardhouse. I got one of those crests in this game, but I didn't know what to do with it. So like, that was weird. Like, it was just in my inventory until the end of the game. I had no fucking clue what to do with that crest. Maybe it's just a reference to the original game. I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure everything has kind of a purpose or whatever, but I didn't know what to do with it. So that's just interesting to me that they put that in there. This time it's like death masks, and it kind of like plays into this whole new area that's like outside and stuff. It's pretty cool. They have like a whole new storyline too about this the Trevor family and whatnot. So that's kind of cool. It's really tragic and whatnot. So nice little addition there. And I think it adds a lot to the experience of the game. These new little areas that they've put here at different times throughout the game. So I think that's really cool. Um, so yeah, here let me. I've already talked about how the music isn't like it's very atmospheric, so you get the idea. Not very loud, not very atmospheric. Let's listen to the original Resident Evil soundtrack here. Resident Evil OST. There we go. PlayStation. Yeah. I don't know what this is. Let's get to like the mansion themes and stuff. Why is this at the beginning? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so the yeah, it's backwards. It's so strange. Here, let's see if we can find a different. The yeah, that'll work. Oh yeah, and the opening to the original too is a lot like more Here we go. Ah! Like, he's walking down the hallway and all that. That's awesome. I love that opening. It's so much better. And the little thing at the beginning, with all the little crystals or whatever for the Capcom logo. And they had a cool logo back in the day, man. I tell you. Um. Anyway, so one of the cool things about the game, like I was saying, is that the fact that there's these items everywhere, and it's kind of a non-linear thing. And the mansion is a really good set piece for that. And that's something I've always really appreciated about the original game, is that the mansion is kind of you get to explore that area, but it's a dense thing, which that's a word I like to use, is dense. It's like Majora's Mask is a dense game because there's not all this open space like there is in Hyrule Field. It's a dense experience. Everything that you're doing in Majora's Mask, there's always something going on and everywhere, and it's a lot smaller and easier to traverse. It's dense. It's dense with content. That's what Resident Evil 1 is. It's dense. Every room has a point. Whether it be, kind of a pointless point like grabbing some ammo or something. I mean, ammo is kind of scarce, so you definitely want that. But, like, some rooms are just for that, like, which is okay. But a lot of rooms have, like, an essential item you need to progress in the game. Which is cool. So you have to really explore and like figure out what the items are for, and like really do some trial and error if you don't have a guide or something. Of course that's kind of what I did. But I just remember a lot of this too from back in the day, is like how you're supposed to get through stuff and whatever. And there's some cool elements in this game, like you can actually save the guy before the snake or whatever, and then he'll come and help you. And he still gets eaten by the snake, but you get a cool assault rifle or a cool assault shotgun. So that's cool. It's just a better version of the shotgun, so I used that through the whole game. That was one of my favorite weapons. There's a lot of cool weapons, the pistol, the rocket launcher, and not the rocket. Well, the rocket launcher's cool too. The grenade launchers, I was trying to say. A lot of stuff like that, It's a flamethrower in this game. I don't know if you can get that or whatever. Barry has it at one point. You get this like one shot like gun that you can like kill anything with. I remember that's pretty cool. I didn't use it for anything, but you can get that. That's a thing. Yeah, so I don't know, like there's just a lot to love about the original game. The zombies and stuff are they were super scary, especially that cutscene of like the guy turning around. Like that's iconic, of course. Like the zombie or whatever. There it is on the cover there, when he like turns around and looks at you. And he's just like and he's got like run away from him, and Barry shoots him like 6 times, and it's like that gun is supposed to be a one-shot kill for anything. How does he shoot him 6 times? It's one zombie. I think he's got this. Like come on. I think one bullet into it. But yeah, there's a lot to love about it. the exploratory nature of the game is cool, and having to find all these items and kind of put them in the right place and kind of figure out what to do is cool. Is what I think. So, in the original game, the tank controls kind of are a problem for some people, and I'll admit they're not the greatest, but they certainly are part of the experience of that original game. Um, oh, I wanted to talk. I heard the little door transition there. Um, there's a cool thing in this game where it's really cinematic, where every time you go through a door there's a transition to like mask the loading screen, but it's cool because you kind of get this sense of like, oh shit, what's going to be on the other side of this door. Like it builds tension. I think that's a really cool element to the game there, the door loading sequences and whatever. And in the original game, every time you would go up a stairs or something, you just kind of be stuck going up these stairs and whatnot. In this game, you could just kind of walk up the stairs. So that's kind of nice. That's a little tweak there. Makes the game better. So, yeah. But, just a lot of little things like that they've really improved upon in the control department. Obviously, there's no more tank controls. I think there's an option for that, like, to use tank controls still, because I think the GameCube version kind of had it like that. But I used the better set of controls. And it works. It works pretty good. I mean, you still run into things every now and again, but the control is pretty good for the most part. It's a lot better than the tank controls. But the tank controls, I don't think are a problem in the original. I think that they maybe haven't aged well for more modern gamers, but there's something unique about those controls, and they do definitely feel like an old school system of controlling. So maybe what I'm saying is I'm nostalgic about tank controls. All right, get over it. Yep. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. There's just something cool about that, and it builds on the tension and all of that, and that's what makes it scary. Oh, I gotta mention the part where the dogs pop out of the windows there or whatever. Like I was expecting it, obviously, and in the original game it's kind of one of the scarier moments, but like in this game especially, I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh, dogs! I just remember my reaction was really good on that one. It wasn't exactly like that, but I was actually legitimately like, I don't know, I wasn't surprised or anything. I knew they were gonna be there, but it was actually kind of scary, and Crimson Heads are kind of scary too. That's the other thing, because they're fast and they really like come after you and stuff. And the hunters in this game are kind of pushovers actually compared to the Crimson Heads. I think the Crimson Heads are worse than the hunters, honestly. But yeah. So control wise, yeah, obviously this one controls better than the original, and I think that'll help a lot of people really come to appreciate this one better. But other than that, there's just like a lot of the similar stuff. There's just like little added rooms and stuff to kind of extend the content and give you more puzzles and stuff, which is pretty cool. And I think my problem with the game back in the day is what, not I don't have a problem with it anymore, but it's what the difference is now is the fact that they changed some things, and I was so partial to the original that I wasn't willing to accept those changes back in the day. But now, you know what? I'm okay with it. I can be okay with these changes, and in fact, I had a really good time playing the game and all that, and it's definitely, of the two, the definitive Resident Evil experience for a modern gamer, which, take that for what you will. But for me, it's always going to be about that original version, because that's the version I think of when I think of Resident Evil. But this is a good alternative to that version for somebody who wants to play a sort of newer version of the game and kind of experience what the hype is about. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's a classic game, you gotta definitely play it. I mean, obviously, you can see how much of a fan I am of this game. And out of the games, it's definitely still my favorite is the first one there. The remake can factor into that at some extent. Um, there's a great channel called The Sphere Hunter who has gone over most of the Resident Evil games. I know she at least got up to Code Veronica. I mean, shit, I haven't seen a video by her in a minute. I wonder if she's still making videos. It's be unfortunate if she wasn't, because she's a really good channel about Resident Evil and other like horror games and stuff. But definitely great. Go check out those reviews. There's another series called Road to the Rocket Launcher, which is a pretty cool series about Resident Evil. The other cool thing about Resident Evil 1, and I definitely did do this at one point, must have been more recently because I don't think I was in high school at the time, but there's incentive to speedrun the game, and it's actually a pretty short game, and the original, that is. And if you get through it in under 2 hours, you get an unlimited ammo rocket launcher, which you can just blast through everything in the game with. And I actually had done that at one point, planned out the perfect like run to get through the game in under 2 hours. So that was pretty cool, you know. There's incentive to speedrun. I think that's neat that they add little bonuses like that and whatnot. It's good for replay value. You know, there's always a lot of replay value. You know, you have your second character you can go through the campaign of, and you can always do things more efficiently and whatnot. And the other games added like way more replay value. Oh, I forgot to talk about the multiple endings, which in this game I got the best ending, I think anyway, of Jill, where Barry and Chris both make it out alive. But there's like these MO discs, and in the original game you kind of had to really pay attention because they were kind of very much off the beaten path. They were hidden in like this. One of them was hidden in a library behind this whole puzzle, and you could totally miss all of that very easily. In this game, they're kind of more on the more on the path that you would be following, not off the beaten path like in the original game. So you can't really miss them as much in this game. You can, but I mean, but they basically will save the other character that you're not playing as. So Chris will be captured, Jill will be captured if you're playing as Chris, and you know, vice versa, and all that stuff. So this time I got to save Chris by putting in all the MO discs or whatever, and I actually managed to save Barry. I didn't even like look up any guides or anything on how to do it, but I just kind of followed what I thought would be a good way to save these characters, and it ended up working. So there you go. And the original had all these multiple endings too. There's got to be like 6 or 8 or something endings. I'm not sure. There's a lot. Like there's like little variations on like if you don't do certain things at the right point, or for instance, in the original game, there's this one part where you fight Jan the snake for the second time, and if you don't wait for Barry to come back with the rope, and you have to like wait forever. It's like 3 minutes or something, or 2 minutes. I don't remember. It takes a long time. You can just kind of like leave him be, and that like one of those contributes to his death or something, like so he can die, or he can't, you know, if you do certain things. It's really cool. Like there's multiple endings to this, a lot like Silent Hill and stuff, which came later. But yeah, like damn, like it's cool. There's so much depth into that first game there, and that's why I really appreciate it. And you know, the other games had like multiple endings and stuff, kind of in a sense. I know Resident Evil 3 had like 20 different fucking endings or some shit. Like it's insane. Like you get all these endings. One of them had Barry in it, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, but like the newer Resident Evil games didn't really do that. I didn't even remember 2 having that many multiple endings or whatever. I think there's a lot you could do in 2 to get a different ending. I think it's just 1 and 3 as far as I can tell. I didn't think Code Veronica had multiple endings, so I think it's just really actually 1 and 3 that have these like multiple endings things. It's just cool because it means that you're gonna get a lot of different experiences each time, and there's gonna be a lot of variety to the game, you know, and there's a lot of replay value there to get all of the multiple endings and stuff. It's basically just like kind of who survives and this and that, and who's gonna help you out at a certain point. There's still just like lots of little things where you can save people and not save people. It's just cool. It's just a cool system for a PS1 game, you know, like that's pretty sophisticated for that era is all I'm saying. But yeah, I just think that's really cool. And it's a great game, the original and this new one. the remake new quote unquote, because it came out in like what 2002 or some shit. The remake. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's more to say, but like just it's a great game, and I love the original Resident Evil 1. It's one of my favorite games, but the remake is definitely a good alternative version to it, and I would highly recommend the remake if you're looking to play Resident Evil 1 for the first time. You can give the original a shot. It's got a lot more charm to the lines and the funniness of it and stuff, and I think it's more memorable in that regard. But this one is not a bad version of the original one. And I never really thought it was a bad version of the original one on the Twin Snakes level, but I always didn't like it as much as the original. And I never really understood why people liked it more than the original. Like I think I got it, but like I never could say that. But I still don't like it more than the original. But the chinks in that armor are definitely apparent now. You know, it's like I definitely could say that it's probably like the better game for somebody now. Let's just put it that way. Like I know I've said that already, but like that's the thing. It's it all just comes down to opinion. Like which one do you like better? You know, that's the thing. At the end of the day, that's all it comes down to. Is do you have more of a connection with the original, or do you like the remake better? And I think the remake is fantastic, and I think you should play it for sure, especially if you're a fan of the original. So, and I definitely like it a lot more than I did in high school, and I think it's better. I mean, it's probably better that now it's in HD and everything, and it looks really nice and plays really nice and all of that, so that certainly helps a lot. But, yeah, I'm going to give it a 9.2 out of 10, out of 10. And then, yeah, and the original, for me anyway, is like a 10 out of 10 game. I know there's a lot of flaws to it, but I love it enough to where it would at least have to be in like a high 9 ranking for myself. You know, just opinion based, but I think it's a really important game. I know there's a bunch of flaws to the original, but it's just really cool, you know? So yeah, like, that's pretty much all I have to say about Resident Evil. And I'm sure I'll talk about it more in the future when I start playing some of the other... Are there more Resident Evil games to play? I mean, I guess I can play through 0. Umbrella Chronicles, that's definitely one that I still need to make it through. I still have the Revelations games, and I don't know. Maybe there's some other Resident Evil games that I need to get to. Not really. I think that's pretty much it, but yeah. I really like Resident Evil, and it means a lot to me because it's a series I kind of grew up with, you know? Pretty much introduced me to horror as a genre, if you want to put it that way. So that's kind of cool. I do like horror things. So yeah, so that's cool. But anyway, this has been JZNES saying keep it classic, stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and I will see you guys in the next one. JZ out.